Emily Brewer in the house. We're live. Emily is a very long-standing friend of the Fräulein and what you call an FOJ, friend of John. So let's just be honest about that. A good friend of ours. And Emily been on my show many times as an analyst and other thing. Emily is a candidate. She's a real political candidate. She is a candidate for the House of Delegates. She's running in the June 13th primary to be the Republican nominee in the Suffolk area. That is House District
64.
64. And that is to replace the retiring Rick Morris.
Correct.
Who has decided not to run for re-election. Now, Emily, just give us the boundaries, what the district is.
So the district is pretty massive. It's well over 1,000 square miles. It's a rural district. It starts on the far side of Suffolk and Holland and Whaleyville. It rolls over Isle of Wight, Surrey, Sussex, parts of Southampton, a small sliver of Franklin, and it continues on to Prince George. Okay, so it's a pretty widespread district, right? And Rick Morris was able to win that primary a while back, and then obviously whoever the Republican nominee is going to win. That's a Republican district. So let's get to your nomination battle. When's the filing deadline? We actually just filed on Monday. The filing deadline is the end of the month.
End of March.
Yeah.
March 31?
Correct. But we have already filed. We are in it to win it. We will be on the ballot, and we're excited about the June 13th primary.
So you have enough signatures, you're on the ballot.
Oh, yeah. Everything is already turned in, and we are rolling forward.
And only one other candidate so far has filed. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
And that is?
It's a gentleman out of Isle of Wight, Rex Alphen. Yeah.
Rex Alphen. Okay. And he was on Isle of Wight's supervisors.
Correct.
Right. I remember interviewing him when I was with the Daily Press. Rex Alphen. Mm-hmm. Right. I remember interviewing. I can't remember much about him, but I do remember sitting down with him. And somebody would have to look it up. I have no idea if I endorsed him or not when I was the head of the editorial pages at the Daily Press. You'll have to look it up. I have no earthly idea. I don't remember. Okay, so I do remember that. So how do you win this race?
You know, this race is gonna be one on the ground. Every weekend, every single day, I'm on the ground. I'm knocking doors and talking to voters every single night. And people have lessened their expectation of politicians, and I plan on raising that bar. I plan on talking to people, meeting them at their door, meeting them at their place of business, actually listening to their concerns. This past week I talked to a couple different folks, and they were literally shocked that I met them at their doorstep. And I said, this is what you're supposed to do. As a candidate, this is what you're supposed to do, is to provide that legitimate service. And so that's how this race is going to be won, and I intend on being purposeful, aggressive, and spreading my message of conservative values across the district.
Now, the establishment is not lined up necessarily behind you, right? I saw that your opponent was endorsed by House of Delegates member Barry Knight, so he's not in the district. He backed Alphen. Or Alphen, however I say his name. I want to say it the right way. What are the differences in policy between your opponent and Emily Brewer?
Actually, I haven't heard any yet, but I can tell you what I'm about. There's several things I want to work on. I want to make sure that, obviously, we're supporting small business in Virginia. I want to make sure that we're working hard to uphold our gun rights. And one of the things I personally want to work on is, in our party, so often we talk about our platform, but we don't talk about our policy decisions. One of the things I really, it's near and dear to my heart, I want to work on is adoption and foster care reform in Virginia. Personally, I was actually adopted, so I don't know if you can get much more pro-life than that. But I think that sometimes as Republicans, we talk, again, so much about platform. We don't talk about how to carry out solutions. And so one of the things I really want to work on in Virginia is making sure it's easier to adopt children in Virginia. As it sits right now, we have thousands of children in Virginia foster care, some which are available for adoption, some that are not, that are in that process. But we need to work on expediting that. I cannot tell you how many folks I've talked to that have had such a painstaking and heartbreaking, road to adoption in Virginia. And, it's been easier to adopt children from other countries than it is here right in our own backyard. And that's absolutely wrong.
No question about that. We should also have a scheduled debate. You want to have a debate?
I'm down. If you host, I'm ready.
I will host a debate. That's probably a good thing. We ought to do several of them. I just haven't It's been off my radar screen, but we probably need to have it. This would be an interesting one, no question about it.
Well, I think that this is just a turning point. This district was recut in 2011 and became a Republican district. And, really this area is the gateway to Hampton Roads on one side and Richmond on the other. And, one of the things we really need to focus on Hampton Roads is, jobs in the economy. I mean, if you look at this region, last year, our job growth was on par with Detroit. There's something wrong there. And, we need to make sure that we are making sure we're marketing our port appropriately, make sure that we are bringing light to the region as a whole. And, I think that needs to be done. And I think that I can be a strong voice for that.
Emily, what do you think of the judge's ruling on redistricting in Virginia? Now, there's a number of House districts where at least one court has ruled that they've been gerrymandered. Where does this thing end up?
That's interesting. I haven't read the opinion as of yet. I think that it will probably be studied for quite some time. I think it'll be probably held up in legal battle. It'll be interesting to see if it goes down the same road as the congressional redistricting, which I could not be more displeased with. I've yet to see my congressional representative.
McEachin?
Yeah, haven't seen him.
I saw him yesterday or 2 days ago. He had not a town hall. He had a get together at a cafe in Chesapeake.
Very interesting. I didn't even see one sign of his during the election.
He ignored us.
Yeah. I feel like we got pretty ignored.
I think he's the worst so far. What's he been in, 100 days, 80 days or something? Worst congressman ever. Because all I do is I get an email from him every day. And here's basically what the email says. Thursday, March 17th, Trump sucks. That's his email, and then he's got narrative in it. No policies, no offices, no, I'm your congressman. How can I help you? Do you need any constituent services? Do you need anything? Or, do you have any input? Or I'm working on a bill. Tell me your concerns. No. Every day, email, Trump sucks. What's the point of him even being there?
When you're elected to a position like that, you are no longer running a campaign. You are talking about what
He's
is going on.
He's still running a campaign.
Yep. You are working to represent the people. And, I'm sorry. And he may be a little bit bitter that he lost, but, things just didn't go his way.
I know. It's just ridiculous. The difference between, you look at the other Democratic congresspeople. They have positions. They're interesting. They say something. They fight for things. You might not agree with them, but, Bobby Scott, Don Beyer, even Jerry Connolly. These guys, they believe in what they're doing. And you can get them on the line. You can have a conversation with them. You might not agree, but they have an agenda. Don's whole agenda is Trump sucks. The whole thing is ridiculous. So, Emily, we're talking today about Medicaid expansion. And I've changed my position on it now based on the fact that any Republican plan to replace Obamacare going forward is going to include paying out these states that expanded Medicare, most likely in perpetuity. So we didn't get the money in the front end. We're not getting the money in the back end. As I look back at the whole thing, I think we got screwed. I've changed my position on it. If it were to come up in 2018 and you were in the House, would you... and the money was still there, and they were saying, let's take the money now so we can get it going forward. How do you stand on it?
Here's what we've got to look at, too, is we didn't know. I'm sure a lot of House Delegates members, and I was staunch behind Medicaid expansion, and at this point still am, and I'll tell you why. We could
against,
not.
You said.
Correct, because we have not found a safe place to land where any of this is shaking out. There is a duty that we have as Republicans to Virginians that encompasses fiscal responsibility. No one could have foresaw that we would have a Republican president that would be working on this. You cannot Monday morning quarterback a decision like that because we could not have known where we would end up. We wouldn't know we would have a majority. We would not know we'd have a Republican president. And, this deal has still not shaken out. There are so many things that are still up in the air that I don't think that can be answered. But, I do not feel comfortable supporting Medicaid expansion in Virginia. This is not shaken out. It just is not shaken out yet.
All right. Well, sounds like if it came up again in 2018 and you were there, you'd vote no.
At this point, yes.
I'd vote yes. I would take the money because we're going to get screwed if we don't. Okay, phone lines. Let's go to Paul in Zuni. Paul in Zuni, you're on the air with Emily Brewer.
Hello, Miss Brewer. You actually reached out to me by phone last week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, and I appreciate that. I didn't know you were running, and I guess my question would be is how closely do you align your political views to the current platform in the White House, and what could we expect those views to, how would they reflect on the local level in our district?
Great question.
I think that's a great question. And thanks so much for calling in, Paul, and I'd love to chat with you again. Actually, John knows us very well. I boarded the Trump train last year, and we were actually at the National Convention in July. And, I think that President Trump has a strong message of bringing jobs and the economy back to America, strengthening the middle class, bringing good, high-paying jobs. And anything that I can do to support that is exactly where I will be. I think his administration is moving in a very purposeful direction. I think what we just heard from Attorney General Sessions is something that I'm very supportive of, which is, strong law enforcement, making sure that we're giving them all the resources that they need. So I feel like I'm very much in line where that administration is going, and I think that we need to make sure that we are investing specifically what he was talking about in our law enforcement community, to make sure that we are enforcing the rule of law and making sure that we're keeping everybody in line appropriately.
All right. Did you have a follow-up to that, Paul?
I was wanting to do a follow-up question if I can.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And that was, the opposition of your current opponent that's running against you. What would be, your view on abortion? I guess I would like to hear that. That's a very strong point for our family. And just wanted to see where you stood on abortion.
Well, Paul, I'll tell you where I stand on abortion. I was fortunate enough. I was actually adopted. I believe very highly in the sanctity of life, and I'll tell you why. Someone was fortunate enough to carry me 9 months and did not keep me. And so the sanctity of life is one of my number one issues. I'm very pro-life, and that is one of the issues I actually want to work on is adoption and foster care reform. Because not only am I pro-life, I'm pro-solution into taking this pro-life stance to the next level.
That's great. We appreciate that.
All right. I want to thank Paul from Zuni for being with us. Any other questions for Emily? Now's the time. Don't be shy, since she's not going to bite your head off. She's actually a very nice lady. And can I say that, lady?
You can say lady. I'm not
I
offended
said
by that.
and I got hollered at by Susan Platt, running for lieutenant governor on the Democratic side. Hollered at me because I said the same thing, but you're not offended by that. I can say that, right?
No offense whatsoever.
I was supposed to say she's a very nice woman. Actually, she also thought just by saying that she was a nice person that was condescending. I mean, the political correctness the Democrats get into. I mean, think about this. You're a very nice lady. Oh, I'm offended by that because, number one, you called me a lady. Okay. And number two, because it's condescending. What the hell is that condescending?
I think it's very respectful.
I mean, but this is Susan Platt running for lieutenant governor, a Democrat, chided me for that and didn't stop me. It went on for days, said that I was condescending and sexist because I said she was a very nice lady. Unbelievable.
You know what? Sometimes
That is-
people pick just to pick.
That is just like political correctness run crazy amok, right?
I think it's just respectful.
I think you're a very nice lady. Does the establishment not want you to win this primary?
Honestly, I have a good broad cross section of support. I've been endorsed.
Kirk Cox?
He's the incoming speaker. He's a wonderful gentleman, but I think that there are several folks in the House that are just opting to probably not get involved, and that's okay. I have the support of Senator Cosgrove, who's endorsed me and supported me, who's a wonderful friend and a staunch conservative, and several others across the
Senator
state.
Stanley.
Senator Obenshain actually
Obenshain.
was kind enough to support me, and it's because they know my conservative values. They know I've been on the ground working hard with them to support other Republicans over the years, and that's actually how you and I met, John, is working hard to support Republicans across the region.
That's right. And actually, we battled each other at the
District convention, right.
Emily was running for national delegate at the time, and so was my wife and I, and Robert Ike on the Trump team ticket. Emily was running as an independent,
but is supportive of our president.
but supportive of your president, and we did defeat you in that convention. Sorry to say, but you did go as an alternate.
I went as an alternate delegate. Yes.
All right, let's get to. I've only got a couple of minutes. Let's get to Joe in Virginia Beach. You're on the air, Joe.
Hey, I just want to commend Emily for her willingness to say that she was adopted. I'm adopted also. I actually would not have known. My parents told me by reading a story called the Chosen Baby.
I have the same book,
and it was made me feel real special. But I commend her for her view on not only the pro-life view, but that she wants to take it a step further and deal with how we take care of these babies that we do bring into the world, that parents who probably don't want to or can't for whatever reason take care of them, that's important too. I mean, we can't just leave them in the lurch, of course. It's important that we follow up on not only bringing them into the world, but follow up on their lives after.
Well, and you know what's so interesting, Joe, is actually my parents gave me the same book, The Chosen Baby. I have the same one, so that was really cool that you shared that. But, there's something that people don't realize. It's not an exciting topic to some people, but it's something that's close to my heart. And there are a couple facts that people just don't know about kids in foster care. They make it past 7 or 8, and they're not in a permanent home or adopted. A third of young ladies end up pregnant before their 21st birthday. 25 to 30% of them will end up as substance abusers and homeless, and they will never have the socioeconomic status to leave our community. So what happens? We have opportunities for criminal activity. They don't have the chance to succeed, and it's absolutely disheartening. And so if we can work on expediting that process for loving parents to take in children and for children to have loving homes, then we've done something right. And I think that's a stance of fiscal conservatism as well, because we're able to take these children out of the system and put them in loving and caring homes. And I think that's really important.
We're out of time. I want to thank Emily Brewer for being with us. She is running for the Republican nomination to the House of Delegates in District 64. That's the Suffolk Olive White area. That'll be decided in a June 13th primary. Now, you want more information, brewer4va.com. Brewer4va.com.